A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's a pleasure to have such a diverse and engaged audience with us as we explore some of the most critical and evolving aspects of the regulatory landscape. As you are aware, extended producer responsibility, that is EPR, has been undergoing significant evaluation over the past few years, with new amendments and clarifications being introduced regularly. Staying compliant while keeping up with these dynamic changes has become a challenge for many stakeholders. Whether it is related to plastics, electronics, batteries, or other sectors, the scope of expectations of EPR are expanding rapidly. We are here to handhold our stakeholders so that there is an ease of process. Today's session, it will be an interacting one. Today's session is aimed at bringing clarity, particularly around an area that has remained gray for a long time: the intersection of EPR with GST and HSN codes. And I want to proudly say that we are proud to share that we are the first in India to take the lead in decoding this critical alignment between GST, HSN classification, and EPR obligations. This decoding is not just a regulatory necessity, it's a strategic advantage for businesses aiming for compliant and efficient operations. Now, coming to the agenda of webinar. The latest CPCB EPR Portal updates, understanding the GST EPR integration, understanding HSN Code compliance update, and the impact analysis. So we will be going one by one. To further dig down, today's session, we will cover the key amendments in the EPR framework and what they mean for our business. How GST and HSN codes are now being weighed in the context of EPR reporting and compliance. Common classification changes and pitfalls and how to avoid them. Practical guidance on how to align the internal systems. Now, this session is designed to be an insightful, actionable, and interactive. So we need your cooperation also. I see almost 101 participants have joined. Thank you so much. We encourage you to participate actively, raise questions, and share your experience. So with this, I once again thank you, and we look forward for an engaging session. With this, we have our Head of Compliance, Ms. Unnati Ashar, and our Director Founder, Mr. Krunal Goda, who will take up with compliance and the analysis. Over to Unnati for the compliance session.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for Udayji for a quick brief about the session. First of all, I'd like to thank to all the audience for joining us today for this particularly important session. Special thanks from Antatwa to the great initiative been taken across by the All India Recycling Fiber and Yarn Manufacturers Association, to whom we have presented this case and to give a detailed understanding on the policy advocacy part of it and the critical aspects from the recycler's perspective and the brand owner's requirements and the need when it comes to the compliances that they have supported this particular forum. Thanks to Chhagan Bhai Sanghaniji, the president, to Ajit Bhai Singalji, the secretary, and to Jignesh Patelji for entrusting us and being a part of this session today, so that we can spread an awareness. Very few associations have been actively participating in policy advocacy, as we have seen in the past, that many associations has been supporting us, and today we have this association being a part of this session. So my sincere thanks from myself and Anand Bhai and Team Anand Tatwa for supporting this session, and to all the stakeholders who has been a part of this session. Today's session is very critical, as you might be aware that Anand Tatwa organizes webinars from a very niche and critical aspects of the policy advocacy. Policy advocacy is something has been a core expertise, and all the stakeholders has been knowing to us, has known us as a policy advocacy experts, because for us it is more of creating mass awareness and to ensure that we handhold every stakeholders before seeking any kind of commercial benefits from any clienteles. Because once we understand the policy, then only we'll be able to implement and execute it. CPCB has been taking very critical aspects. The government of India has been taking a very bright vision about streamlining the processes of the waste management, because of the sole reason that our Honorable Prime Minister and the entire team who has been working tediously on this particular aspects of streamlining the sourcing from India by creating value from the wealth. This where has been the core focus, and that wealth right now is the waste. And we have critically identified, looking at the aspects that we see that the challenges that we are facing across, especially on the raw material sourcing part, uh, to the producing of the finished goods from the sustainability perspective, and ensuring that we attain the global sourcing hub targets as set by across the expectation from the world stakeholders. Today, as we have been joining this session, we have more than 125 stakeholders, from the brand owners, from the producers, from the converters, from the recyclers, from the government bodies and government officers, who has joined this particular session. I'd like to thanks to all of them. The session is very critical from the brand owners' perspective, because they are the final stakeholders who has a critical role to ensure that this policy and the sustainable global goals are being achieved, especially on the ESG and the circular economy. So the session is going to focus, as Udayji has already said across, that it's going to focus on the GST aspects and the HSN code changes that has been recently done. Before I stretch it too much, my only submission over here is the policy and the changes on the portal are very well aligned. CPCB has been taking a great initiative for implementation of all the aspects of the policy, and understanding the criteria, the agenda, and the intent to bring it on a digital platform, and how they have brought it is something that we are going to present over here. So welcome everyone. And I would like to now invite Unnati Asar. She is the head of the compliance for Anantatva. She has been taking a great initiative in hand-holding the industry stakeholders for decoding the policy. And Unnati would be presenting with us today's session. I myself would be also contributing to this aspect of it wherever required. The only request, please be on mute. If there are questions, please put it across on the chat box. And if there are queries that has to be resolved towards the end on a question and answer session, we'll be taking up every single question being asked over here. And every question, we would like to also admit that is not something that we will to answer right away. Some questions would be critical, and before commenting would require a larger consultation from the stakeholders and the government bodies, which we'll be doing across, and also sending again once we have the right answer for that. So without wasting time, now I request Unnati to please take it over.
Thank you, Krunal sir, for guiding so well on the webinar. I would like to start this session by just saying that this is not an era of just finance, but today in the 21st century, in 2025, we are into the era of sustainable finance. So integrating sustainability with finance is very much important for any organization to grow. So today's session is in light of that only. So GST in EPR is not something very new. GST in EPR is since the start of the policy. So in 2022, in plastic waste management rules, when the guidelines of EPR were given, GST was introduced at that time only. And in 2022, there were direction under Section 5 of Environmental Protection Act regarding provision of GST invoice of transactions related to plastic packaging were given, and this was one of the critical document that was released, published by CPCB, and today we are going to highlight certain key points from that document as well. In 2023, the second guidance document mentioning the essentials of GST in EPR was released. And in 2024, recently, the procedure for uploading GST e-invoice was being given by the CPCB just to simplify the process for the stakeholders. Moving ahead, let's understand what is the meaning of GST as per EPR. So GST is equal to verified financial trail for plastic packaging transactions under EPR. So EPR is all about the maintaining the traceability of plastic packaging. So CPCB uses GST data to validate sales, purchase, imports, and plastic processing. So what is the objective of eliminating what is the objective of integrating GST with EPR? So first, the critical objective is to eliminate the fake credit generation, which is harming the society and increasing the burden on the landfill. Second is strengthening the compliance. Moving ahead, let us understand GST details required by CPCB. So first, company details, the trade name and legal name that we mention on the portal are to be aligned with the GST certificate. The transaction details require buyer and seller GSTI and GST levied is to be mentioned in the time of purchase and sales entry. These are certain things that we will be discussing ahead in this webinar. In the e-invoice details, there are certain critical aspects which are required by the CPCB, and material details are required, such as product HSN code and category-wise quantity is required. So let us understand what is GST implementation from compliance of CPCB for producers, importers, brand owners, and of course for plastic waste processors. GST record maintenance by brand owners. So as we discussed earlier that the CPCB had released this critical directions under Section 5 of Environmental Protection Act of 1986. So in this, there were two critical points that were addressed. So firstly, it was the one which you can see over here is that in Section 10.3 of EPR guidelines, brand owner covered under Clause 4 shall provide details of plastic packaging purchased from producers or importers covered under Clause 4 and 4.2 separately. So this is something that we all know. But what is the critical part in this? So the critical part over here is that the quantities attributed to each producers and importers covered under Clause 4 and Clause 4 subclause 2 obligated upon brand owner shall be deducted from the obligation of the producers and importers. So the quantities attributed should align with the GST, and the record of such purchase, including category-wise quantity purchase, shall be maintained separately by the brand owner. So all the GST records that you are maintaining, all the documentations that you are maintaining must align with this. Moving ahead, let us understand that GST record maintenance by producers and importers. And let me tell you one thing that these record maintenance were given at the time of in 2022. But now, just to give an highlight and one to share something, recently there is a portal update that they have increased the fees of annual filings from 25% to 50%. That is something that we all must have noticed. So the bifurcation over here is that 25% that was given is only for filing annual return, which is the annual processing fees, and the another 25% it is the audit fees that CPCB is mentioning. So CPCB is almost set to conduct audits. So all the stakeholders are requested to be aware that record maintenance is very much important for all the PIBOs and PWPs, so that whenever CPCB comes at your place to do the audits, just like it is happening under GST, you are all set and all compliant enough. And so moving ahead, with the producers and importers, as per the CPCB's direction under Section 5 of Environmental Protection Act 1986, there were certain provisions given for GST invoice for producers and importers as well. So under Section 10.4 of EPR guidelines provides that producers and importers will maintain the record of quantity of plastic packaging material made available to the brand owner. So the quantity of plastic packaging material is to be maintained, but the GST records are also to be maintained for the same. The record of such sale, including category-wise quantity sold. So over here, whenever we make any invoice, we do not segregate it as per the category. So everyone must be aware over here, but still I would like to say that there are 5 categories that come across under EPR for plastic packaging. So category 1 is for rigid, the second one is flexible, the third one is multi-layered plastic packaging, the fourth one is compostable plastic packaging, and fifth one is biodegradable plastic packaging. So this is something critical information that is also to be mentioned under the invoices that are to be uploaded on the system, so that it is easier for the Central Pollution Control Board as well to trace the plastic packaging and the GST levied on the same. So the financial part as well as the waste management, both things get very well aligned over here. So this is something that is to be maintained, and and in case such records are not maintained, then they will have to fulfill the complete extended producer's responsibility obligation. So that is, there will be the EC will be levied under as per Section 5 of Environmental Protection Act. So uploading GST e-invoice purchase. So,
Unnati, just a second.
yeah.
So basically, when it comes to this particular aspect of maintaining the records, now what has happened over the period is that CPCB, where we have actually come from a journey where we have started manual feed of the data. Now the second phase of this policy and the execution has come on the digital platform, where the real-time analysis of the data has been done across with the help of the certain aspect coming in first from the GST invoice verification. Now, what is the GST verification going to help across is to first validate the invoice, whether this invoice was correctly uploaded, because the entire process of the EPR is coming in from the purchase and sales data. And when you say, if it's say, for example, the PWP is actually generating a credit, it has to be validated because it's totally dependent on the waste that you have processed and actually converted into a granule or any kind of product, and the sales of that has been done, which gives a final confirmation that yes, the waste that was there, probably a legacy or probably any kind of waste that was been converted, it has been converted into a fruitful value creation, and hence the sale is been bought across by any brand owner or any stakeholder, and hence then this has to be only validated by a GST record. So first step of that is getting into the GST record of it. Yes, this verification of the invoice proves that the invoice is valid invoice. Second is the product line mentioned in that, which is going to be validated with the amounting, because that amounting is going to be related with to the HSN codes of the products being sold across. And third is the quantity. The three critical aspect is the quantity, is the HSN code, the type of the material, and the third impact is basically with the GST invoicing, that's the amount and the invoice. Please, Unnati.
Thank you, sir. So let us understand now the bifurcation of GST e-invoice for purchase. So over here, you can see this is the portal screenshot. You have to, while uploading the details, procurement details, you have to upload the GST e-invoice as well. So it is not that any invoice you would be uploading, it is specifically the GST e-invoice, which has the proper QR code, which is readable, and the document is signed and stamped properly, is to be mentioned, is to be uploaded. So registration type, entity type is to be mentioned. Registration type is whether you are registered or unregistered on the portal. The entity type needs to be mentioned. The name of the entity, plastic material type. So plastic material type is something, not the category, but plastic material type is the polymer identification. So there are certain polymer types being mentioned in the portal, and the packaging material that you are mentioning over here, the plastic material type should be mentioned for the same. The category of plastic, as we already discussed, the financial year, the date of procurement, quantity of plastic, recycled plastic percentage, GST number of seller has to be keyed in, GST paid. So GST paid amount needs to be mentioned, and it should align with the invoice that you are uploading. GST e-invoice number needs to be mentioned, and you have to upload the GST e-invoice over here. So it is not that any invoice you would be mentioning, but you would specifically mention the GST e-invoice, which is verifiable. Moving ahead, let us understand the uploading GST e-invoices for the sales. So while doing the sales entries, you get the, you have to upload the GST e-invoice. So the details are same. There is certain changes and additional details that are to be mentioned. So registration type, entity type, contact details, plastic material type, category of plastic, financial year, date of sales has to be keyed in, quantity of plastic, recycled plastic percentage, GST number of the registered PIBO needs to be mentioned, GST paid, and bank account number, IFSC code is something to be mentioned. So and the EPR invoice number will be generated whenever you will do the sales entry, and you will have to upload the GST invoice. So where do you upload the GST invoice? So just to, just for the awareness purpose, you have to mention the GST invoice under this red symbol, and once it is verified, and once you have uploaded the invoice, it will the red symbol will turn into green, and until there is the red symbol on this, you won't be able to do the annual return filing. So once you upload the document, then it will turn to the green. So the above details, including EPR invoice number, plastic packaging quantity, and the percentage of recycled plastic, have to be included in the GST invoice. So it is not just that till now we were entering the product name, the code, and the GST amount that was to be levied under the invoice, and the name of the company and name of the party. These were the certain common details which we used to mention. But this is very critical to understand that all these details are to be mentioned, so that you are compliant enough from the GST as well, and also from the CPCB perspective. Moving ahead, what is
Unnati,
new?
I would like to just
Yeah.
be on a hold for a moment.
Yeah.
Before we go ahead, this is a very critical information that has been sent across by Unnati on the purchase and sales invoice GST. Now, just to understand on this aspect, just by having a short kind of activity on this platform, how many of the participants were actually aware that this is the critical aspect of GST and the relevance of it is being asked across, or how many people of this are aware that this is something an important part? It's been explained either by the members, by the government officers, or by your consultants. In the chat box, we can just simply say yes or a no before we proceed to the next slide, because it's critical while we have this session, or we don't want to have it a one-side session. We will be having across two-side sessions wherein we will be able to just see the queries so that this detailing part can be covered accordingly. Shubham ji, thank you so much for raising your hands. Yes, we'll be taking this question of yours. Allow us some time while we run through this presentation. Glad to see that all the participants are mentioning yes, that they are quite aware of this particular aspect. While the participants are just mentioning, Unnati, we move on to the next slide, please.
Yeah, that's great to know that many of you are mentioning the details, but for all those who are not mentioning, I would request to start mentioning these details so that you are compliant enough. So let us understand what is new for importers on the CPCB portal. So for importers, at the time of filing annual return, there are two details that are required to upload, which is GSTR1 and GSTR2A details on the CPCB EPR portal are required to be mentioned. And the CPCB will verify the import data entered on the portal against the transactions reflected in these certificates as the records provided by Customs Department. So just to align that, how much waste is coming into the country and what is the financial implication for the same, and domestically how the traceability is maintained. So just to trace on all these things, these certificates are being asked by by CPCB. So GSTR1 and GSTR2A are the two details which are to be uploaded on the portal, and without which you won't be able to file the annual returns. And let me tell you, this is only for the importers as of now, but gradually it can come from other stakeholders as well. But currently it has started with the importers. So what is the source of GST data's record maintenance? So for the sales GST data, GSTR1, For purchase GST data, GSTR 2A, and for purchase GST data, you can also use 2B. So, and you can get all these details from your GST portal. And currently, they are asking GSTR 2A and 2B, GSTR 2A and GSTR 1. So, summarizing everything, let me, the first phase, I would like to say that where is the linkage of GST and EPR? We also saw that it is under the EPR transactions and under EPR certificate generation, as earlier said by our Director, Mr. Krunal Goda, sir, that PWP certificate generation is something which is very critical and it should be compliant enough. And to trace that, GST has been integrated, and it has been integrated under EPR transactions as well, as we discussed earlier. So, what is record maintenance required by PWPs? So, the PWPs have to generate the certificates after including the GST data of the enterprise, without which it won't be possible for them to generate the credits. And as per the ticker, which was released by the Central Pollution Control Board on the portal, PWPs are required to ensure that valid GST e-invoice of finished products, which are clearly visible and readable, is uploaded in the sales section of EPR portal. And CPCB has also given the instructions sheet for PWP sales. So instructions for PWPs. So what are the instructions given? So first is the mandatory upload. So the upload is mandatory. There is no chance that you cannot upload the GST e-invoice. And as per the guidance manual prepared by CPCB, plastic waste processors shall upload a valid GST e-invoice for the sale of the product for the purpose of EPR certificate generation on the EPR portal for the plastic packaging. So what are the required details? It must contain buyer GST number, seller GST number, IRN number, date of sale, HSN code, invoice amount, invoice number, and most important, the QR code, because the QR code is something that they are verifying upon. So, and only signed copies of GST e-invoice shall be uploaded. So GST and validation is done. Portal cross-check is also done. The GST e-invoice shall also validate with the relevant information provided on EPR portal. So again, this is being integrated with the details which we are providing about the plastic packaging and the sales that they are doing. The PWPs are doing of the recycled material. So, and document visibility. It should be ensured that all parameters of GST e-invoices are clearly visible and readable. Pre-upload verification is important. So you have to verify that your documents are compliant enough, they are proper, all the details are mentioned properly, and ensure that then only you upload it on the portal. So we cannot take this very lightly, or else it will affect the generation of EPR credits and also affect the whole system. Moving ahead, let us understand how GST matching is validated on real-time basis. So CPCB has made this mechanism on the portal that when you upload the fake e-invoice, no data is available on QR code. This is something which they will, the pop-up will come. So by no chance, you cannot, by any chance, you cannot upload any fake invoice on the portal, and this is actually really good for all of us, so that this will prevent all of us from using the fake credits, and we will get more of the genuine credits in the market. And when you upload the correct e-invoice, the pop-up will come that invoice is received successfully. So how do they validate it? They validate it from the QR code. The EPR portal has a provision for validation of transactions between PIBOs and PWPs, as well as auto generation of EPR target of successive years based on real-time capture of procurement sales of plastic packaging of preceding years. So this is something very important, that whatever data we mention on the portal is correct, and we verify it and then only we upload, because cross validation is always done by CPCB on real-time basis, and online platform can cross check all the details. So what audit challenges can be faced in future? We already discussed that CPCB is all set for conducting the audits. So let us understand first mismatch of data between PIBOs, PWPs and customs. So this is something that whenever the producers, the brand owners cannot do the purchase entry for the ones that they have procured from the registered parties. This is something which auto populates in the portal. So you have to verify that the details that your vendor is mentioning and which is reflecting in your portal is correct, and the GST details and tons details are matching as per the data that you have, because mismatch won't be accepted by CPCB. Unregistered transactions are something. Incorrect GST filings, if you are not filing GST correctly, then also that is something that will be caught at the time of audit by the Central Pollution Control Board, because they are all aligned with the GST. Incomplete document maintenance. So incomplete document maintenance, as we discussed, that records are to be mentioned accurately, and if you maintain incomplete documentation, then that could be a compliance challenge at your end. So there is a risk of overstatement and understatement of quantities as well. So if you are mentioning incorrect details, you are mentioning incorrect details of GST, then there is a risk that you are mentioning more details, and by mistake also it is not accepted by the Pollution Control Board. So be very much aware. So what is the EC?
Only before you proceed on across, very critical aspect being covered across on the compliance part of it of this GST. First and foremost part, that we all know that there have been various challenges being faced across when it comes to the validation of the credits that we are buying across when it comes to the EPR. The credits which have been generated are purely based on the sales data part of it of the PWP. Now that validation comes across when that sales has actually happened. Over the period, we have seen across many cases that there has been been said that the validation of the sales has not been done. To address this issue over the period of 1 year, now they have come across with a solution wherein they state that the entire sales that has been done across as claimed in the capacity of the city or city, and the process being done across on the purchase data, the sales has been notified and reported across. On that basis, the EPR credit generation has been allowed. Now that has been validated on a real-time basis. So while we are seeing across a lot of transactions happening on the credits per se on a cost factor part of it, now it is switched over to the compliance factor part of it. It is very important for us to understand that yes, there is a cost attached, but a compliance cost is always easier and cheaper than a non-compliance cost, because the non-compliance cost brings you various critical aspects, which is not only the cost but also your image, and also being known across by all the stakeholders, because notices are being published on the public platform, and also to an extent certain, if it's more critical, it comes across on the medias as well. So hence we need to understand that and welcome the step taken by CPCB on the validation of the GST invoices as claimed by the recyclers.
Thank you so much, Kunal sir. Compliance truly matters, and it will be easier for you to face the audit challenges if you are maintaining all the details accurately, and if you have a proper compliance support by a proper advisor as well. Let us talk about the environmental compensation. So under Section 5 of Environmental Protection Act 1986, CPCB has power to give directions. So government has given this right to CPCB, that this power to CPCB, that they have the right of the closure, prohibition or regulation on any industry, operation or process, and they have the right of stoppage of supply of electricity or water or any other service as well. And there are certain other environmental compensations as well that come under the CPCB's EC norms. So that will be levied as well. And recently, under 2025, the first amendment that had come, they had introduced a new rule of Rule 19. And under Rule 19, what it states is that if you don't follow any of the rules that come under the plastic waste management rules, then you'll have to face the environmental compensation as per the Act. So what is the Act over here? The Act is the Environmental Protection Act 1986. So all the ECs are derived from the Environmental Protection Act 1986, and it is based on the same. So what are industry challenges? This is something that I would request Krunal sir to continue upon. Krunal sir, over to you.
Thank you, Unnati. Thank you so much for actually taking up this session. I got that unfortunately I had kept on mute myself, but thank you so much for addressing this on the chat box and by my colleagues over here. So I was saying that first of all, thanks Unnati for taking an in-detailed presentation about the GST part of it. Now we are moving to the next session part of it. Yes, there are questions that has been raised across by Shubham ji, by Shada Plastics, Ravi Teja ji, Rungta ji, Prince Baduria ji, and we'll be taking across these questions one by one towards the end of the session. We are moving ahead from the next aspect of it. What are the challenges being faced across? I'm sure in this part of it, there would be the various questions that would be already taken across, which has been also put across in the chat box. So beginning with this session and continuing to the second part of it, which is what are the current challenges being faced across. So Unnati, next slide, please. So first challenge that has been come across is the commercial part of it, where we see a challenge being representation being done across by many industry association bodies and many companies, where we say the GST rates are on the recycled granules at 18%, making the recycled plastics more costlier than as compared to the virgin plastics. And the second is the tax inconsistency, where we say the plastic scrap has been taken at 5%, and when we sell the granules, it's been taken as 18%. First, let us understand that the policy over here is to support the entire agenda of circular economy and sustainability. From the industry's perspective, what are the challenges been taken across and what this challenges means? Next slide, please. The impact to the government is that now when it comes to the GST part, the difference is creating a kind of an imbalance where the small scrap dealers cannot afford to pay the crippling 18% GST, forcing them to get into the cash-based transaction and untaxed operation. This creates a market disruption and distortion where law-abiding business cannot compete with the tax-evading operators. And the formal sector's dominance of cost the government an estimated annual loss of GST coming up to 65,000 crores, and also the critical part of it up to 2035, this loss is looking at estimated of 86,700. Now, this slide is going to be a very straightforward slide wherein it's saying that yes, this sector has the lot of dominance coming in from the unorganized segment, and there is a gap that has to be followed across, which can be filled to ensure that the handholding and done in the right way will help us to actually align with the compliance part of it, and also to make this entire moment to convert this market into the concept of unorganized segment to an organized segment, which is where we'll be able to understand the scalability of the business. Right now, we are not able to understand the scalability of the business, considering the fact that the records of the transaction are not being recorded correctly, only volumes have been recorded and the final granules. Traceability is again a critical aspect when the transaction starts on happening on the cash transaction. There's a loss of quantification and verification of the quantities being supplied across, and the source has been lost. Third is that definitely the small traders, the entire agenda of this policy, why this was brought across, is to support the MSME, the rack pickers, the dealers, and the suppliers of the material so that there is an empowerment done by the two ways of EPR policies, and who are putting on the hard efforts of converting the waste into the granules or the recycled granules, thereby ensuring that there is no waste lying on the roadside. That is only possible by the government if we convert and provide them a flexibility. And that flexibility comes first in the commercial part of it, where we either empower, which has been done across by the EPR policy. Second is reducing the taxation rate or aligning it with the government on the standard virgin material norms, and which is where the 18% is a critical part of it, which we need to ensure that collectively industry as a stakeholders have made a lot of representation, and we still need to ensure we are looking and hoping good that our continuous engagement with the CPCB and other ministries relevant, that we are going to see some kind of good news coming in with the expected change in the GST slabs. Next slide, please. Impact to the industry when it comes, we have seen the impact that the government has. Now let us see the impact where it's coming. The cost in the product cost is higher side, which is also forcing us to also somehow not motivate people to get into the demand supply chain management. There is the rate of the credit generation has been high because of this particular factor, which is one of the reasons that you see only category 1 kind of the materials have been also been produced at a larger scale. When it comes to the boost for the category 2 and category 3, it's also very critical. Once the alignment of this is done across with the norms of the other virgin material, then for sure there would be an increase in this particular conversions also. Reduce the availability of the URAP credits, which is going to be implementation in this phase, where we have seen that any importer, it's a mandate for the importers for using the URAP credits for fulfilling their targets on the reuse part of it, and also the recycled granules PCR part of it. Wherein if they have to buy these credits from the producers, brand owners, importers, from whom these PIBO are the people who have used the recycled content in a larger percentage than their eligible percentage. Now that is something that is going to boost more, and the availability of the URAP credits will be higher if this GST issue is also been addressed across. When we hear this particular part on a regular basis, the impacts are less. But when we see across on the numbers, the impacts are quite high. The amount that we have shown across is just 18% of the targets. But if we see across that 18% and then we scale it up at 100%, it may run into lakhs of crores of rupees. Hence, this is the entire impact that is coming on the industry also. Plus, the most critical part, the compliance traceability. Who is going to validate that this waste that we are using as a PCR, specifically for the food grade part of it, how are we going to ensure that the traceability is there if the transactions are done only on a cash basis? Next. Other challenges in credit generation, it has come to the notice of the CPCB that it has been recently blocking the generation of the EPR credits for units engaged in the production of the recycled PET flakes, citing that only grinding and washing of plastic scrap does not constitute as recycling unless the material has been further processed through an extruder. Now, let us understand that PET flakes is a complete recognized a raw material recycled grade. The post-recycled PET bottle scrap falls under the HSN code of the 3915. Is a recycled through grinding, washing, sorting, and drying to produce a food grade or industrial grade plastic flakes, which is again and the sole part being categorized as HSN on the 39th chapter of the 3907. This is the standardized raw material also for the downstream manufacturing. This is the state where the actual mechanical or the chemical recycling takes place, converting the waste into a standardized raw material used for manufacturing. Now, why is understand that everyone is talking about this particular issue, but no one has got into the detailing aspect on why this change has happened. Then there is an interpretation which has been misinterpreted by many stakeholders, and which is the reason this pause has come. We collectively have to make a presentation to the CPCB as well to address this issue. How that is going to be there, let us understand on that part of it. that why this change may have come and what was the thought process behind it. Next slide, please. We tried to dig into the entire chain of the policy. While referring to the policy, first critical aspect is to understand that the EPR policy is not limited to the CPCB. It has various stakeholders. It has involved more than 15 ministries and other departments as a part of the committee to ensure that the implementation of the policy is done with the consultation and the technicalities experts of the other departments. One of these critical aspects that has been addressed across, for an example, is the RPET part of it, wherein the recycled credits are generated based on the recycled PET being produced across. To connect the dots, we digged in more to understand why was this given a pause. The linkage of this policy of the EPR credit generation and a sudden halt was linked towards to a small definition being put across on the FSSAI, which was currently published across on 23rd of May 2025, wherein a detailed definitions of all the was given. Understanding the clause of 2.4 of the recycling process being issued by the FSSAI, they have mentioned certain definitions wherein it starts with the super clean recycling process, a conventional recycling process enhanced with an integrated decontamination step as specified by the FSSAI and other regulatory body to remove the absorbed contamination through a combination of surface treatment, high heat and high vacuum in a controlled environment such that the output can be used for direct food contact. Second, melt-in recycling process of virgin PET production operations enhanced with the ability of incorporating the PET flakes into the molten form, which is decontaminated through a process of contamination of high heat and high vacuum. Third is the paste-in recycling process, wherein a virgin PET production operation enhanced with the ability of incorporating the PET flakes in the paste form via partial glycolysis and equipped with an integrated system of removing absorbed contamination via chemical distillation, vacuum degassing, and etc. Fourth, chemical recycling process, a chemical reaction, operations of pyrolysis or fully depolymerization PET flakes into a purified ethylene glycol and tetraphthalate acid or BIS as per the ISO 15270 guidelines. The purified depolymerization monomer can be deployed to produce a polymer of virgin quality. The manufacturer of the FCM RPET using chemical recycling process shall submit application and relevant dossier to the food authority. Now, this is something that we have read across on what is expected by FSSAI from the perspective of a recycled content, which falls and relates and correlates with the norms of the CPCB under the plastic waste management policy, where it may take the mandatory norms to use the recycled contents. Now, these recycled contents are also correlated with the norms of the EPR credit generation. We found out that there is a small clause that has been mentioned across on the EP and the FSSAI guideline, which states, for the purpose of these guidelines, conventional recycling process is defined as a mechanical recycling operation where PET flakes are washed, melted, extruded, and pelletized without a process step to remove decontamination. It is very critical to understand and decode this particular aspect of this particular guidelines, wherein it is not saying the plastic waste, but it is categorically talking about the PET flakes. Means a recycler who is not procuring the plastic waste from the rag pickers, from the landfill, from the direct source of the waste generation, but is directly buying the PET flakes, and that PET flakes is supplied across to a recycler who is then converting into a or extruded into a granule or pelletized form. Because the FSSA Act states that the entire understanding of this process eliminates to understand the source of these PET flakes and the process involved in the treatment of ensuring that the contamination is removed completely in the process while processing these PET flakes, there was a change that has been assumed to be brought across by the CPCB. Now this has to be again addressed across, because this clause should also be amended or added across with a clause that if this PET flakes has a certain standards to do a quality check and certified by the government agencies or the approved agencies, ensuring that the standards are at par of the recycled granules produced or the virgin plastics, where the level of the contamination free is being graded across in percentage form, then such PET flakes are to be allowed for EPR credit generation and also for the supply of the recycled grades generation. Because at the end of the day, the person or the recycler who is engaged in collecting this waste from the landfills, from the rack pickers network, this source of the waste collection at the ground, are the people who are actually doing a complete recycling and reducing waste management concept of this particular policy. The policy is also focusing on empowering the rack pickers. The policy is also focusing on empowering the MSMEs who are involved in this process. And the concept of this policy was to give a boost to the MSMEs in this process. If we remove this particular segment of generation from the entire cycle, then the purpose of the policy is somehow not achieved. Second important part, that if this standard is been put across for the PET of the recycled grade, then in this case, what happens to the other material that are also falling under the mandatory norms of their use of the recycled content and the reuse content? For PP, for PE, we are still waiting for the standards on the FSSAI for the food grade contacts. However, if these are not aligned right now or corrected right now at this policy level, then in future you will be also having a challenge when it comes to the PP and PE, which will have a more multiplying effect, because it is similar to disrupt the entire supply and demand chain aspect of the EPR credit and the compliance. Yes, the concern is right that the PET flakes conversion into the granules or the pellets is not going to resolve the purpose, because ensuring the contamination free is critical for having a food grade contact application based polymers. We have to engage collectively first by understanding the aspect of this entire recycling, wherein this policy is stating about the PET flakes to the conversion of the granules directly, but it's not limiting towards to the person who is involved in the collection of waste to the conversion of PET flakes. My request is that we as an industry, we look forward for the feedback coming on the email ID that we have sent across by during the registration process. Put across your feedbacks. Collectively, we have done a lot of policy advocacy and industry representation, and we can take this up. We are already in engagement with the government bodies at various levels and various other ministries also for this is whom this is relevant. So we look forward for your guidance. I'm sure that there would be a lot of questions coming in running into your mind, and if need be, we can put it across. I sincere thanks to Prince Bhadoria ji for acknowledging the section where I have mentioned across the critical aspect and the policy advocacy part of it by decoding it into the layman language. Next, please. Now, the indication on the impact analysis, probably one of the few more slides, the last slide that we are talking about. The entire GST and HSN code has disrupted to a larger extent on the credit generation and the compliance part of it. Until today, I'm sure many of the recyclers and the PIB are not able to fulfill either the credit generation or their annual returns, which has been put to the years of the CPCB, and that is the reason there has been an extension that has happened across. Many companies are facing an issue on the registered entries being put across by the producers or by the brand owners, wherein they are facing the challenges for the correction part of it. And when digged in more, the GST validation has been a missing factor to a larger extent. Also the HSN code. So this part is being covered across in this policy, and we are sure that our handholding will help to ensure that there is a lot of clarity and it is done in a righteous way. The GST validation will have a major impact on the EPR credit. As we have seen in the HSN, there's a disruption in credit category 1, especially on the RPAT 1. This is something that we have to address and get it streamlined, or else the category 2 and 3 and 4 would also have the same line of faith. Second, the demand supply of EPR credit for 24-25 shall be disrupted, and for the 25-26 as well. Anantatva forecast a steep rise in the EPR pricing. This is not something to scare you, but this is to align you to ensure that all the producers and brand owners are well aware of this, and they do the project forecasting. Their balance sheets are forecast based on this, and their risk management on the price inflation are being aligned. Yes, we are there to support you in doing a proper forecast and aligning with the compliance fulfillment and absorbing the risk, price inflation risk management, and the material availability also. Compliance will get stringent, more and more checks, with the audit fees being clearly segregated towards it, where it states that the annual fees are now being categorized and audit fees are being collected. So there will be sure the audits coming in. Many PWPs may look forward for suddenly the EPR licensing, which has been seen the current trend, but that's not an escape zone, because it is a mandate now coming in CTO and CTA as well, that you have to register under the EPR portal if you want to run your recycling facility as well. So you have to ensure that your EPR PWP licenses are there. Surrendering will not help you. It will get more tougher in case you are thinking of surrendering. Government has given us opportunity to correct it with the consultation of the right stakeholders, and we are there to assist you. PIB long-term contracts of the EPR credits will be disrupted, and it has to be a realistic re-evaluation done by the brand owners as well and the producers as well, because the PWPs are actually facing across the heat. For them, the team size, the expertise size are not as large as invested by the producers and the brand owners. It's a time that is in stakeholders, we need to take a responsibility equally by empowering this segment of the people who are engaging with the rag pickers to ensure that the sustainability goals of the producers and brand owners are achieved. And the only thing that is required across is to consider by supporting them on the price inflation risk, which is not actually a price inflation risk, but actually it is supporting you to ensure your disclosures on the SEBI guidelines of the ESG are actual. It helps you to increase your ESG rating, which is going to be the critical factor forward for your project financing, because the star rating and the ESG are actually going to ensure and validate whether what kind of project financing cost is going to be there. And also if you're looking at any kind of equity stakes or any kind of investments from foreign investors, this is going to be a point check. And during that audit, that stage where you're looking for financing, and if you're looking for any kind of funding, the point that we have already been putting across to our brand owners, to our producers, during that round of equity or during that round of bank approvals, this has been considered as the most critical aspect to decide on the interest factors. This GST link validation may delay also your annual returns, and the shortfall of credit supply may be expected in near future. So in order to create a kind of a disruption, it is a need of time that we come together as every stakeholder, support this industry collectively because this industry is bringing the change. This industry of the recyclers of the rec because are bringing the change, and they are supporting not for themselves but for us. Next, please. Thanking you everyone for joining this session. There's few questions that are there. I'll sincerely like to thank Vijay Habu sir, Sunil Kulsesa sir, and other stakeholders who have also already acknowledged the coverage that we have done on this session. The questions have been asked across. I'll go one point by point. Shubhamji has been reading across. I see a raised question coming in from CFO DRIPL. I would definitely love to address that question as well. I'll go step by step, wherein for the first question has come across from Mudit Kothari ji. Mudit ji, the categorization of the HSN code that has been talked about is HSN code, probably what may fail is having a HSN code not relevant to the plastic industry. And hence, that is the reason this is not allowing you to generate the EPR credit. While Ravi Teja ji, you have asked the question, while filing an importer data, we upload only plastic packaging material used. We are obliged to be responsible for plastic material. But now raw materials, in this case, would GST record help in validation? Yes, sir. We would be helping across to ensuring to do the right recording of the GST and the commodities in this GST invoicing. Kritika Sharma ji, if we import from a subsidiary company outside India, so in that case, how to upload the GST invoice? First of all, ma'am, the GST is not there on import part of it. Your GST over your import is referring to the IIC data that has been uploaded across by the customs while the imports are done. And hence that has been put to be pushed across, which is also available. We can help you to how get that data. Then the next question, what if the e-invoicing is not applicable? I would like to have that more clarity. If you're talking about that it is a 5 crore less than turnover company, then there are provisions in the GST which helps you to generate not as a mandatory but also as a practice that an organization would like to start before reaching the turnover of 5. There are processes to be followed across, and we would assist you in that as well. What if now CFO DRIPL? I'm sorry, sir, I don't know your name. It's not displaying over here, but definitely I'd like to address this. What if the producer also imports waste sometimes? In this part, we have to see the critical aspect, whether this waste import has been allowed. That is first part of it. Second, the policy does not cater towards your compliance fulfillment. If you're thinking that the waste import will help you to fulfill your targets on the EPR, the policy is critically and categorically is talking about the waste that is generated in the Indian landfill. And we are talking, hence, just going to speak about that. Sulochana Cotton, we are a PWB. Could not update, not able to upload the GST invoice sales for past 6 months. We would like to have more details. Kindly send your details on our email ID that we have mentioned across. As per the Vikram Lonia ji, as per the current CPCB guidelines, generation of the GST invoice is mandatory for issuance and validation of EPR credits. However, we observed that some recyclers are working with are not covered under GST invoice. Again, it's the same thing that we have stated that we would assist you on this matter. Please send your inquiry on the mail. What happens, Shabad Plastic, what happens if the brand owner has not uploaded their purchase details for a particular producer while submitting the EPR returns? If the annual returns are done, then you cannot do anything. If the annual returns are done, pending, then you can definitely ask them to put it across. What happens if the brand owner is purchasing plastic packaging from an unregistered producer? First of all, the policy critically states that you are not allowed to buy. But still, if you are buying it across, then you have to ensure that they get registered. We would be helping you to actually help them to do the registration compliance. Prince ji, I have already covered your question over here. We may connect one-to-one to take this matter to the next level of escalation. Ravi Teja ji, if my vendor uploaded data in incorrect category and we are uploading data in a different category, how is it validated by the EPR? Very good question, Ravi Teja ji. This is something that has to be done across at your end. And also at the brand owner end or the producer end, wherein you have to ensure that the correction is done in the right way and the right time, or else that would be having impact on your EPR portal targets and also the audit part of it. We have stringent guidelines. We do a proper advisory in this aspect, and this advisory, we have a proper systematic methodology where we ensure that our clientele data are uploaded in a righteous way. And this is done for all our clients that we have been serving across with a network of 20,000 clientele, 2,000 clientele that we have been serving across on a very critical part of the policy advocacy and compliance. And a complete audit and compliance is where we are doing for more than 200 brands as well. Sunil sir, thank you so much for acknowledging our efforts. Arun Joshi ji, how much time will it take for the verification process? It's an immediate process that has been done. Nirmal ji, my question is regarding the PWP category 1. We have uploaded the sales invoice without adding the TCS amount on portal. After adding the invoice information on portal, we could not be able to upload the sales invoice due to showing an error in amount mismatch. Yes, this is a critical part of it which we can assist you. Please drop us a mail. We'll be helping you to that. Thank you, Harish Sangvi sir, for acknowledging our efforts for doing this presentation. Polycab India has a question wherein what are the consequences for brand owner if the onboard PWP fails the audit? Sir, it's a very critical part of it. If the PWP fails the audit, you cannot blame the PWP. CPCB is very clear that the responsibility lies with the PWP as well as to the brand owners equally. If the PWP fails the audit, it is the responsibility of the brand owner to ensure that all the compliance check is there. And that has the various steps of validation wherein because a brand owner data that has been put across, there are more than 3,117 data points which have been validated in the audit. And that audit is ensuring that the PWP audits are a part of it. And PWP compliance is completely your responsibility. That cannot be passed on. Even legally, that will not be taken and have a stand. Rungta sir, I would be taking this question one-to-one on this part of it. And very soon I'll be putting you on this live so that we can address your question. So does the government want to promote the extrusion division and not the recycling division? So, I would like to state, sir, there's a small misinterpretation that has happened on this misinterpretation that has happened on the policy part of it. The scope of the government is not to promote any particular stakeholder. The scope of the government is to promote the entire value chain, and which is the reason they have been taking great steps. Yes, there are certain steps that has been taken across which are something to be verified and validated and modified. And we as a stakeholder, they are always open to listen to every stakeholder. We should make a joint representation on that. Shilpa ji, if any customer not registered for the EPR, how to sell? That is something that we can take care of it completely. We will assist you on hand-holding that. Again, a question of CFO from DR IPL. We have been using MLP, LVP, and Tetra Pak as raw material and having using under Chapter 48 to sell our product. However, we are not able to put an input on the sales on the EPR portal under Chapter 39. So there is a technical process involved in this. Please do write us on an email. We'll assist you on that. Narendra ji, are PWPs allowed to generate international plastic credits from plastic waste already accounted? Sir, there is certain standards and validation done by these agencies. You have to follow the process as the agencies that you are choosing across. CPCB allows you to do the compliance part of it. The compliance of the industrial standards and our standards are quite different. Ashish Kumar ji, how the imported product wrapped with plastics packaging with HSN code of product will be audited against the plastic details. So there is a validation process that has already been in place, and the audit team of Anand Tatwa and the compliance team assists you in doing that because the PCB is already doing it. Vikram Plasticizer, sir, thank you for joining us. You have been one of our greatest clienteles also who has been engaging quite actively with us. In sales section, why bank details and IFSC codes are required? Because many parties not providing those details because of the sole reason that the transactions of the GST is further going to be validated on that level as well on the banking transactions. Because very soon we are going to have the real-time trade portal where the transactions has to be settled on a D+1, T+1 or T+2 basis. In this case, it will be following across the same procedures of the SEBI as well. Hence, it is required. Sudhakar Patil ji, as per FSSAI, we are virgin packing material as a primary base, but CPCB asking to reuse packing material if there is any consent taken by CPCB from FSSAI. It goes again virgin plastic, which grade? If it's a pad grade, yes, there is a guidelines. If a PP and PE, it's still in process. Sujana ji, we are a producer coming from under MSME under new guidelines. What will be the new process of annual returns? That is something on the SIMP which is there. The annual return process are very simple over there, and that has to be done and issued. The SOP would be issued very soon. Dr. Parag sir, thank you so much for acknowledging our session. Rungta ji, I'll take you right now on this part of it. And before I go to Rungta ji, Pankaj Mande ji, thank you so much for doing this. Sanjay Jagtap, this, thank you for acknowledging this. Rajesh Doshi ji, thank you, sir. I would like to have Rungta ji on live on call. After that, CFO DRIPL, Vijay Kumar ji, for your questions. Please, sir. Rungta ji, can we have on a call, please? I guess Rungta ji, I am able to see, but he is not able to connect. In the meantime, I'll ask CFO DRIPL. Sir, please give your introduction about your organization, and then we take the session. Okay. Can you please unmute, please?
Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself.
So we have given the rights. You yourself. So probably we can connect over the call if you are facing a difficulty. Yes, there is a question that has also come across from Shubham Agarwal ji. Shubham ji, are you there? Unnati, just try to unmute all, please.
Now, sir, kindly try to unmute yourself, please.
Yes,
Hello.
now we are able to unmute.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
I
Yeah.
please ask my question?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. So this is Bindya. I am the CFO at Deluxe Recycling India Private Limited. We use waste plastic like MLP, LVP, Tetra Pak, and convert it into pellets, boards, for automotives. So our main clients are Bajaj and TVS. We provide most of the auto rickshaws made by Bajaj and TVS have our product.
Okay.
Okay, so now the query that I had already asked was that we are purchasing Tetra Pak, we are purchasing MLP and LVP, but we have been selling historically with the chapter 48.
Okay.
And now what has happened, we are trying to upload the EPR. So the sales invoice, they want the chapter 39 to be the HSN.
Yes.
And but our e-invoice is made on chapter 48. So
Yeah.
how do we sort this out?
Ma'am, there's been this particular policy. Now, the basic, again, it goes to the basic part of it, that this policy is categorically talking about the plastic waste. Now, plastic waste legacy conversion into the recycled granule is something that has been asked across, which is the reason they have restricted this to chapter 39 only. When we talk about the chapter 48, it is going under the HSN code of the paper and paperboard articles of paper pulp, of paper or board. This chapter is something that is going to fall across from next year onwards under the policy of the EPR for paper, plastic, and glass packaging. It is the reason this has been a certain change that has happened. Now, your product line is a part that has been converted across into a combination of plastic waste plus a paper waste.
Yes.
Now, in this case, ma'am, the categorization has to be put across of the amount of percentage that has been converted. We can take this up with the CPCB. And in this case, what we feel, we assume that chapter 48 is something that they won't be looking forward to have a kind of a EPR credit generation. These are initial analysis, considering the way this has been leading over the last few months.
Okay, but then 24-25 is already over. So basically our PWP certificate was also delayed for 1 year.
Yeah,
So now after 24-25 is over, all our e-invoices are generated for the full year.
yeah,
And now when we are trying to upload the invoice, there is a mismatch. So
yeah.
then we lose 1 full year of credit is what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am. In that case, whatever it has been generated across and put across on your portal,
Hmm.
that is something that you would be able to actually, because that's again a validated part. Again, a critical question I would like to put it over here. The brand owner may have a audit query coming into it if your sales invoice is under chapter 48.
Okay.
This is a critical part because for them the targets are based on chapter 39.
Okay.
So this is something that has to be sorted out and clarified by CPCB because they have allowed across initially.
Okay. So then can we reach out to CPCB and will they be able to provide us a solution for this?
Ma'am, you can reach out to us. We will jointly let's make a presentation on that regards.
That would be great. Thank you, Krunal. We'll do that.
Yeah, I request Rungta ji to please unmute.
हेलो
Yes.
सर नमस्कार, मेरा नाम हेमू तिवारी है और मैं रुद्रा गिनटेक लिमिटेड काम करता हूँ।
हाँ जी।
सर मेरा प्रश्न ये समझना चाहता है, जैसा कि आपने बताया कि 3907 क्लोज हो चुका है, बंद हो चुका है, जिसकी एंट्री भी नहीं हो रही है टेक्स की।
हाँ जी।
और उसके साथ साथ में एक्सपोर्ट की भी सेल्स की एंट्री बंद की गई है।
हाँ जी।
और थोड़ा देर पहले आपने एक एफएसआई का रेफरेंस देते हुए बताया कि उसमें केमिकल रिसाइकलिंग रहने से बेस्ट रहता है और मैकेनिकल रिसाइकलिंग करने से नहीं। तो
नहीं sir, sorry to pause you over here, sir. I have not said that. What I have said that the policy उसके अंदर उन्होंने ऐसा लिखा है कन्वेंशनल मेथड, जिसके अंदर मैकेनिकल रिसाइकलिंग के प्रोसेस से पेट फ्लेक्स को कन्वर्ट किया जा रहा है फूड ग्रेड प्रोडक्ट के अंदर, ग्रैन्युल्स के अंदर, उस पे कंटामिनेशन फ्री नहीं हो पा रहा है, उसका वैलिडेशन कौन देगा? वो गाइडलाइंस उसके अंदर मिसिंग है, जिसको वो सीपीसीबी ने वी आर अज्यूमिंग के एज अ बेस बनाया है। बिकॉज जब फ्लैट फ्लेक्स कन्वर्ट होके आप ले रहे हैं तब फ्लैट फ्लेक्स एक्चुअल एफएसएसआई गाइडलाइंस के हिसाब से वॉश हुआ है, एक्सट्रूड हुआ है और ट्रीट हुआ है टू एंश्योर द लेवल ऑफ कंटामिनेशन इज क्लोज टू 0 और व्हाटएवर द परमिसिबल परसेंटेज आप, उसके अंदर ट्रस्ट फैक्टर नहीं है जो वैलिड रीजन है। क्योंकि आज फ्लैट फ्लेक्स लोग कन्वर्ट करा रहे हैं, उसको ग्रैन्युल्स में प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, कौन उसे वैलिडेट कर रहा है कि ये फ्लैट फ्लेक्स कंटामिनेशन फ्री है? बिकॉज देयर इज नो क्यूसी कंट्रोल हैपनिंग पर से। मे बी 2, 3, 4, 5 आर डूइंग इट बट नॉट एवरीवन।
तो सर जैसे कि आपने कहा, उसके अलावा जैसे कि किसी दूसरे प्रोडक्ट्स बनाए, जैसे चाहे वो मोनोफ्लेम डिवीजन में हो या किसी दूसरे डिवीजन में हो, तो वहाँ पे डायरेक्ट फीडसेट्स का इस्तेमाल नहीं होता है, उसके साथ साथ में कुछ अदर टाइप की मटेरियल भी इस्तेमाल की जाती है।
हाँ जी।
तो अल्टीमेटली सेल्स इंक्री जब अपने करते हैं ईपीआर पे, तो वहां पे तो कोई टूल्स नहीं है जिस चीज को वेरीफाई कर पा रहा है उस चीजों को कि ये चीजें सेल की जो इंक्री हो रही है वो अपने एज ए पेट सेट्स का ही पूरा मटेरियल बना हुआ है या उसके साथ कुछ मिक्स करके भी हुआ है। कई जगह में ये भी देखा जाता है कि वर्जिन का भी उसके अंदर मिक्स करके भी लोग बनाते हैं और सेल्स इंक्री अपलोड करते हैं। तो अल्टीमेटली वहां पे तो वो भी क्लिफाई नहीं हो पाता कि अल्टीमेटली वर्जिन का कितना है, वो आपका फ्लेक्स का कितना है। तो
सर बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा है आपने सर। ये रिसाइकलर रुंगटा एज वन ऑफ द नॉन रिसाइकलर्स जो है वो ये क्वेश्चन इसको क्रिटिकली इतने एड्रेस कर रहे हैं, देन आई एम वेरी ग्लैड द एक्टिवनेस इन द रिसाइकलिंग इंडस्ट्री दैट इज कमिंग अक्रॉस। बिकॉज इसका रीजन आपने जो बताया हुआ है उसका मैं थोड़ा और डिटेल में बोलूंगा सर। सीपीसीबी पे डेटा अपलोड करने पे वैलिडेशन नहीं होता। सीपीसीबी पे आपने डेटा डाला, वो एक फर्स्ट स्टेप है। जैसे आईटी रिटर्न्स में आप अपना डेटा डालते हो फाइनेंशियल, वो एक्सेप्ट कर लेता है, एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल कर देता है। उसके बाद जब इंक्वायरीज निकलती है वो तब ऑडिट होती है रियल टाइम बेसिस पे जो आपने डेटा डाला है। जो आज की तारीख में आपने जो डेटा डाला हुआ है उसका वैलिडेशन शायद आज की तारीख में नहीं होगा, पर सीपीसीबी उस 3 साल में कभी भी वैलिडेट कर सकती है, जिसकी वजह से आपने ऑडिट का देखा हुआ है। द प्रोसेस हैज जस्ट स्टार्टेड, जहां पे जीएसटी लिंकेज और अभी स्टार्ट हुआ है। सेकेंड इज ब्रांड ओनर जो ये मटेरियल परचेस कर रहे हैं उनके लिए रिसाइकल कंटेंट का परसेंटेज हैज मैंडेटरी कम नाउ। इस केस में क्या होगा, उनको मार्किंग एंड लेबलिंग में एंश्योर करना है कि मेंशन करना है कि 30%, 10%, 5% जो आपने यूज किया। जब वो वैलिडेशन स्टार्ट होगा ऑडिट उस लेवल पे, तब सीपीसीबी पूछेगी चले आपने भैया बता दिया कि 30% मैंने यूज किया है, आपने अपने टारगेट्स के अंदर 30% फुलफिलमेंट किया है, अब इसके ट्रेसेबिलिटी डॉक्यूमेंट दिखाइए। वो दौड़ेगा सीधा पीडब्ल्यूबी के पास कि भैया आप दिखाइए कि इसके अंदर क्या है, और तब जो वैलिडेशन होगा तब जाके जो है वो पूरा ऑडिट का डिस्क्लोजर होगा।
यस सर, ये आपने जो प्रोसेस बताया है सर, जाहिर सी बात है कि इसी तरीके का प्रोसेस सर ये सारी PWP के लिए सारी चीजें हैं। बट एट द टाइम ऑफ द जो सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स की लिए चिंता है कि जो चीजें प्रॉब्लम हो रही है कि भाई कि फेक वेरिफिकेशन होता है, फेक क्या नाम है सर्टिफिकेट जनरेटेड है, तो अल्टीमेटली कहीं ना कहीं उसकी कमी तो नहीं आ रही है ना सर। मेरा मेरा ये समझना है कि उसकी कमी भी नहीं आ पा रही है। आप उसको बाद में
सर
ऑडिट करें वो अलग बात है।
सर क्या हुआ है मालूम है, इन द प्रोसेस लास्ट 2 साल के अंदर, रादर लास्ट 11 साल के अंदर हमें सरकार की एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत अच्छी बढ़ गई है। एक एक बेंचमार्क हम रेस जैसे होते जा रहे हैं, हम एक्सपेक्ट करें कि डिजिटली जो है वैलिडेशन भी बहुत अच्छे टाइम पे हो जाए। ये वैलिडेशन सर स्टार्ट हो गया है, और ये वैलिडेशन जो है वेरी सून इट्स गोइंग टू बी एग्जीक्यूटेड ऑल्सो। जहां पे हमने प्रोसेस का आज की तारीख में, क्या आपने 1 साल पहले सोचा था कि जीएसटी वेरिफिकेशन रियल टाइम बेसिस पे होगा? आज की तारीख में आपने नहीं सोचा था, पर आज होने लगा है। क्या आपने सोचा था कि ऑडिट फीस का स्प्लिट करेंगे एनुअल रिटर्न्स में से? आज वो लोग करने लगे हैं सर। दे आर एक्चुअली कलेक्टिंग द डेटा। इसलिए डेटा क्या डाल रहे हो वो बहुत क्रिटिकल रहेगा। देयर इज नो एस्केप जोन आउट ऑफ इट।
उसी पे सर जाहिर सी बात, उसी पे जितने सारे PWP इसके स्टेक होल्डर्स है उनकी एक टीम ही बनी हुई है जो सारे के सारे परचेज से प्रोडक्शन से सेल से डेटा हम लोग डेली बेसिस पे डाल ही रहे हैं। बट एक प्रकार से अगर 3907 चाहे वो फ्लेक्स को ज्ञानोद को पूरी तरीके से बंद कर देना, साथ साथ में एक्सपोर्ट सेल्स की गिनती को बंद कर देना, तो एज ए PWP के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा टारगेट है कि वो अपने जो ब्रांड ओनर्स के साथ कमिटमेंट किए हुए हैं उसको फुलफिल कैसे कर सके,
सर
जो अभी तक अचानक से चीज आई है।
सर एग्जैक्टली सी दिस हैज हैपेंड। उसका रिप्रेजेंटेशन जो हमें है, इंटरप्रिटेशन राइट वे में करके हमें एज एन एसोसिएशन, एज अ इंडस्ट्री बॉडी डालना पड़ेगा। क्योंकि आज तक जो हमारे पास भी, जब ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग हमने जितना एंगेजमेंट किया है स्टेक होल्डर्स के साथ गवर्नमेंट बॉडीज के अंदर, वहां पर रिप्रेजेंटेशन जो हुआ है ना वो कुछ अलग तरीके से रिप्रेजेंट हुआ है। वहां पे ऐसा बोला गया है कि जैसे आपने वर्ड की शुरुआत की मैकेनिकल रिसाइकलिंग वालों को बंद कर दिया है, विच इज नॉट द केस सर। कहां पे लिखा है कि मैकेनिकल रिसाइकलिंग वालों को बंद कर दिया है? पॉलिसी कह रही है कि पेट फ्लेक्स के अंदर से आप कन्वर्ट कर रहे हो बॉटल के अंदर, वहां पे उन लोगों को प्रॉब्लम आएगी क्योंकि कंटामिनेशन फ्री का वैलिडेशन नहीं हो पा रहा है। उन्होंने ऐसा तो नहीं बोला कि कन्वेंशनल मेथड हमने बंद कर दिया है। ये एक्चुअली मैंने एक कहा, दूसरे ने सुनी, तीसरे ने कुछ और इंटरप्रेट किया, और ये एक्चुअली गवर्नमेंट को हम स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं उस वे में देखने के लिए। बट एक राइट रिप्रेजेंटेशन जब जाएगा एसोसिएशंस की तरफ से, इंडस्ट्री बॉडी की, तब ये चेंज हो जाएगा सर। वी आर श्योर।
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
या
थैंक यू फॉर गिविंग अ टाइम सर।
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर अटेंडिंग सर। एनी मोर क्वेश्चन? तीर्थराज गिरटकर जी, यस प्लीज।
Sir, my question is basic question. Whether as discussion during the meeting, lot of industries are recycling the plastic waste, but some industries are still not registered in EPR.
Yeah.
The fact is that because of they are not still fully aware of this EPR portal or EPR registration.
Yes.
My question is that if our industry is doing mechanical steel product, but they are utilize plastic for just packing for some imported customer. So whether we are not brand owner, we are not reprocessor, but still we are some generator some quantity of plastic, just like packing of material and other material. So can we register in EPR portal or not?
So if you are using any kind of plastic material and your eligibility is coming even in small and micro or an importer, you have to register.
But we are, sir, as an importer, we have to register.
Yes.
But just our material is transmission tower angle.
So, but you are packaging. Are you packaging into a plastic material?
No. Not packaging with plastic, but just for some. There are some categories of product. Some are painting. Some are without painting. So just for to avoid any damages or any paint removal of it, we are just wrapping up plastic.
Sir, any kind of even 1 gram of plastic that you are using, as per today, it has to be used across, and you are eligible to.
But sir, we are not making branded, or we are not making labeling and.
Sir, we will explain, Titra sir, we have left a number. We'll be explaining it to you in details why you are eligible and why, how if there is a possibility to exempt you from this policy. So we'll put down a number and let's connect on a call. Sanjeev Kapoor sir, thank you so much for joining today, sir. Your question is, what is the purpose of having target for recycling and end of life in case of compostable or biodegradable plastic? When it is very in nature, it will be compost or degrade automatically. Moreover, no capacity of recycling or EOIL is available for these two new categories as of now. So first of all, it's a very great question on the compostable and biodegradable. Many people have a kind of a misinterpretation or representation of this fact. As per the policy, what has been put across over here, the thought process is in India, the biodegradable material is still categorized under the EPR of the CPCB as compostable only because of the sole process that there is no quality definition or ISO standards being put across as 100% EPR, the guidelines part of it, as in the biodegradability happening as home composting. The compostable and biodegradable are categorized in two segments on international level and national level. One is an industrial composting and one is an home composting. Internationally, the home composting is done in a larger scale. However, in India, the concept is not yet developed. Even the second part, as you have clearly mentioned, that the industrial composting is also not in place. Industrial composting that is there, the concept of the industrial composting has just started. There are some entities we know have started investing in this setting up of composting. But the challenge again is going to come across on the material availability of composting facility because it has to be composted in a controlled environment and hence it is called as industrial composting, wherein the question of the recycling of that and the EOL would come across. Since it is put across in the industrial composting, the EOL targets are given. The government has given relaxation wherein category 4 targets can be fulfilled across by the recycling credits of category 3. Government is well aware of the challenges faced in the recycling target fulfillment of compostable, and hence they were given a provision for fulfillment of under category 3 recycle credits also. But currently there are challenges faced across in category 3 as well because of the audits that has been recently taken place by the CPCB. So the biodegradable, yes, they want to promote. Compostable, yes, they are going to promote in a bigger way. The facilities is where the engagement of the brands would be required, wherein we have to channelize the procurement of the material back to the source by incentivizing either the consumers or the waste collection agencies, so that the grading and the labeling of this compostable material is done in the right way. It is identified by the rag pickers and sorted out, or else by the consumers who can have a depository scheme to submit it back. And once we get that enough material, then we will be able to do a recycling, which is the reason, as on date, since the infrastructure is not there, CPCB has given a relaxation in that regards. I hope, Sanjeev sir, I have addressed this question. We have Vibhu Srivastavaji, who is there. This will be the last question that we are taking. And any further questions, we would like you to please contact us or drop us an email in this regards. Yes, Vibhu ji. Please unmute yourself. So I guess Vibhuji is not able to unmute or put it across, but thank you so much for taking up this, for attending this session. My special thanks to Udayji and Unnatiji, who has brilliantly put up this session today and put a lot of efforts to ensure that the stakeholders are given the right knowledge and handled. And we look forward to having such sessions, many more in future. Please do keep on sending us your feedback. Please rate us on Google review. Please join our web, the WhatsApp channel. And please also reach out to us in case you need any assistance. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.